prieš bonusą ir po bonuso.
Hello, everybody. My name is urBONUSas, and this is the podcast urBONUSas. And I'm happy to present you my next guest. As one of my friends told, as one of the more respectable guys I have on my basketball family around, told that it's for sure one of the best pure scorers in the Europe and or whole EuroLeague we had. So it's a big honor for me to present you Rytas Vilnius guard, Andrew Goudelocko.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
So Drew, thanks for joining the show. And we talked already about it, that it took some time, to finally arrange this interview. But as I said, I'm not surprised at all, because only because of your busy schedule with Rytas, but also because of your father of four. And I was thinking that, lockdown changed our usual lifestyle. And, it's not the same to see the city, to experience the city as it was before in the past. But what places did you love the most with your family? And did you have opportunity to enjoy the snowy winter we had in Lithuania?
Yeah, well, we try to go to parks and things like that as often as possible, try to get the kids out of the house. We enjoy the snow because we don't get much snow where we're from. So the kids, my wife, we all loved it. I took them to Vengus Park like 3 or 4 times. We go to, there's another like recreational park. There's a skate park attached to it and basketball courts. So we go there. We just try to find things outdoors to do. With the lockdown, there's not much open. So we just try to get them out of the house and let them play in the snow, really. And we like it here. I mean, it's, it feels warm for us. Well, not warm as the weather, but the people are nice, and, it just feels like home.
How people react when they saw you on, for example, in Vengus Park, when they see the big family of yours?
I mean, most people, they'll just look. Most people are there with their children also. So, they're kind of preoccupied. But whenever I do see people kind of notice that we have a pretty big family, they just look. I can tell in their head, they're like, man, that's a lot of kids. Which is kind of the same thoughts that I have sometimes. So, but we don't get much attention.
Are you getting any basketball advices?
From just people that I see on the street?
Yeah.
No, I don't think many people even recognize me, like, with the masks and things like that. I may have like one kid or something stop me every once in a while and, tell me they like my game or something like that. But for the most part, nobody really says anything.
Talking about your daily activities, I know that some Rytas players saw you, and not only once, but you all guys coming to the gym with all your family to spend some time over there. And I was thinking, is it because of the lockdown, all the restrictions because there's nothing much to do, or your family is so much in basketball that they already, making shots and following you in the basketball?
I mean, I'd say a little bit of both. My oldest son, he's been shooting on 10-foot rims for like 3 years. So he likes to go to the gym and shoot. My youngest son, he's getting there, but he just likes the open space of the gym. So, and my wife actually works out too when she goes. So we just like to kind of, and with the lockdown going on, it's not much open. So I just let them go there and run around. I have twin daughters, and they like the open space. So we all just kind of go in there and do our own things. And I try to get them a sweat as best I can. And but they really enjoy it.
As I said, I'm very happy to have you on my podcast because I believe that your basketball journey was very interesting. And I want to start the conversation from bringing back to your first days as a pro basketball player, 2011 NBA draft, 46th draft pick, Los Angeles Lakers, and you're entering LA Lakers training camp with Kobe Bryant, with Pau Gasol, starting the post-Phil Jackson era. What would be your advice right now for that young 22-year-old guard, whose name is Andrew Goudelocko, starting this pro journey?
And I would tell him to be patient. I would tell him to just continue to work towards what he wants to be and not worry about anything outside of the basketball world that you can't control. And, I would just tell them to, just be calm, level-headed, and just realize where you're trying to go.
Or what kind of situations required the most patience? Maybe I don't know. Maybe you were lacking off at that time, or you always were so focused, making smart, let's say, decisions and reactions.
Yeah, I mean, coming from like when you come out of college and you're used to being a star or being a man on your team, and you come into the pro game, you may not play a lot. My backup, I was a backup to Kobe Bryant, so I obviously wasn't going to play a whole bunch. And I wasn't necessarily thinking about that stuff. When you come in, you're just thinking, hey, I'm going to play. They drafted me. And, I got a little discouraged, especially early on, because you won't play for 2 or 3 months at a time, especially when you're a rookie. So I didn't really know what was going on or what to expect or how to even react. And, if I would have known better, I think that I would handle it a lot better. I still think I did a decent job of handling it, but it's a lot, when you're coming from college and you're just around all these grown men all of a sudden with millions of dollars, and you're not used to any of this, and it's just takes some getting used to.
When I talk with guys, they say that, ask AG about Kobe, ask him about Kobe. And I
Mhm.
know that probably all the journalists ask you about Kobe Bryant, but what were you actually asking him, for the first time you had some personal conversations, personal experiences, and you wanted some advices from him?
Yeah, I would just ask him mostly about his mentality. There would be games where like he would just be shooting the ball, he would be missing, he would have off games, and he would continue to shoot. Like he'd probably shoot more, and I see him go like maybe 4 for 25 or 4 for 20 something, whatever. And I come to him and I'd ask him like, how do you even continue to play the same, not thinking about the shots, not thinking about anything, just can continue to be a killer. And I mean, he was always just like, he believes in his training. He believes in everything that he's worked for. He believes that his individual talent is better than anybody else's. And I mean, it would show. I mean, those nights that he may go 4 for 25 or 4 for 26, that next night is, I mean, he's probably gonna score 50. So I mean, it was just his mentality. I mean, I know people hear a lot about the Mamba mentality and things like that, but with him, it was so real. And every time, every chance that I got to, ask him, something about it, he was really open to telling me, how he felt about it. So he would even tell me things about what he saw, within me, and how he knew that I was locked in, or how he knew I wasn't locked in, or things like that. And he was just ultra competitive. So, we would go at it in practice. I would talk trash to him, which wasn't a great idea. But I think he gained respect from seeing me not back down and seeing that I had some of that Mamba DNA, I guess you could say, um, for my mentality, and he embraced me.
Okay, so when you start talking trash, what's next? What you're expecting and what's coming?
Well, because we would double team and practice and stuff like that. And one day, the first day that I was talking trash, I was just like, "Hey, man, like I don't need a double team. Like, maybe you might want to double me. Just talking, just kind of joking." But I saw he was like, "Okay, like, okay, we're gonna see." And we came into practice, and he told the coach like, "No double team today. Like, I'm gonna kill this kid." And I mean, he went right at me like, every time he's scoring, he's talking loud. I mean, he just giving it to me, man. And I'm trying my best to, come back and battle back, but it's Kobe Bryant. There's only so much you can do. And but it was all in good fun. I mean, like I said, like he would respect the fact that I would actually go at him. I wasn't scared of him or anything like that. Obviously he would get the best of me most of those times. But it was a good time.
Do you remember what was the first time when Kobe approached you personally, and when he tried to talk to you, when he tried to advise you something?
Yeah. I had a streak of games going where I was playing pretty well. And he was just talking to me more and more about things that he was seeing on the court. And one game in particular, or one practice in particular, I was getting double teamed. I was playing really well, so they started to double team me, and I wasn't used to it, having these huge guys double teaming me. I couldn't even see over these guys, like, and I wasn't knowing what to look for. I was just like huge eyes, and that was really the first time he came to me, and he was telling me, what to look for, how to beat the pressure, and different things like that. And I was so shocked that he would even come to me and give me some advice. I didn't even. I was just kind of staring at him like talking to me, like. But he would do things like that throughout the season. Come to me and tell me, some things to look out for, or how to attack guys and things like that. And also watching film, a lot of film watching. He was big on. So man, he helped me out in just about every part of my game when I was there. I mean, I still go by the things that he taught me 10 years ago, and I still use those things.
Can you be more specific? What routines you still follow? Which, for example, you saw in Kobe's game, in Kobe's pregame routines?
Yeah, I mean, not so much pregame routines, because his pregame routine was just more like him focused, really super focused. He would tell me that he could see it in my eyes, when I was really focused and really locked in. So he would always tell me like, today you're not ready. Like you need to get yourself right. You need to get your mind right. You need to watch some film. You need to look for these things when you watch film. You need to get better just individually, because if you're better individually, you're helping the team. I mean, just amounts of stuff that he would tell me. It was just, and I held on to every small thing that he would tell me because, I mean, it's Kobe Bryant. But the biggest thing was the confidence. He always told me to have the utmost confidence in myself, almost to be arrogant, is what he said. You should be to the point where people think that you're like cocky on the court. Like you should be that confident in yourself. He told me not to be cocky or be arrogant, but when it came to your game, you should feel like that about your game. Like you should feel like nobody can mess with you, and you should feel like you're better than whoever you're playing against. And I took that with me. Like that's probably one of the biggest things I took with me.
Yeah, that's true. You can see it from your eyes when you're entering on the court, actually. And I remember I read the story about you going to the locker room after scoring 12 points against Charlotte, I think.
Yeah.
And you're hearing your teammates, Luke Walton and Matt Barnes, whispering, "Oh, he's not afraid to shoot. He's like mini Mamba." And Kobe kind of accepts this nickname.
Right.
But when I think about the mini Mamba nickname, it's not just only a fun thing. It's not only a cool thing, but it's also about meeting the standard of having an honor to have Mamba name on your nickname. Did you have any challenges from Kobe? Just if he was checking you, if you're meeting this nickname?
Yeah, I mean, he would like come at me, man. Like, I mean, there were certain days where he would like, if I was joking around or, just in practice, just not going hard like I would normally do, man, he would come check me immediately. Like, what are you doing? This is not how you get better. Like, I mean, and he was on it like every time. Like, I mean, he was like a big brother. Like, so when he would come around, I would always try to make sure that I was like really on my P's and Q's. I mean, when a guy like that gives you a nickname, I mean, after him, I mean, that's like a huge honor. I was so young when they first gave me the name. I was kind of like, I don't want to be anybody's mini Mamba, like, whatever. But then I started to think about it, like, it's Kobe Bryant. Like, for somebody to call you that, I mean, that's a huge honor. And so many people looked up to him, and myself grew up watching him. So I took that really serious. I mean, I still take it serious because people all around the world still call me that. So I mean, for me, it's still a huge honor, man. It's a surreal thing for your idol to, come out and call you something like that. I mean, you don't see LeBron calling people baby LeBron or, Michael Jordan. There's been so many people that people have said, hey, Michael Jordan, this guy's like, but you've never heard a guy say, yeah, this is little Michael Jordan right here. Like, so for me, I mean, it's a huge honor.
I believe that when you had that nickname, it was also for you challenging, to go playing in different teams, because if they called you mini Bamba, it means that they have huge expectations for
Right.
that nickname, right?
Right, for sure. I mean, everywhere I've gone, I've had I've gone to training camps, other for NBA or wherever else I've been, and people would just be expecting me to like destroy like at all times, like, and so when I would just tear people up, they would be like, "Yeah, that's what I've been waiting for," like the mini Mamba, like, yeah. And I'm like, man, I'm just a regular guy, like, every day I'm not gonna score 50. But it's just part of I was the same way when I met Kobe. So I mean, it's just part of what comes with it. A big part of like, progressing as a player in this business is like being comfortable with who you are. You know what I mean? So as time kind of went by, I still embraced the name and I still appreciated it, but I wasn't even worried about, you know, people's expectations of me because I have my own expectations and I know, who I am as a player and things like that. So um earlier on though, I would say I was definitely like, all right, I'm gonna have to show these guys. Like uh, you know.
Did you have any relationship with Kobe after you left Lakers?
We didn't talk much. We talked a few times. I saw him on his what would I call it? His farewell tour. He had like maybe 3 or 4 games left. I was with the Rockets and we talked and he gave me some of his shoes and we kind of just chopped it up a little bit. But that was the last time I talked to him. I want to say was like 2016. Um, he was kind of a private guy off the court. So I don't know many people that even had his number or spoke to him much. He switched numbers like every week. And like even in our hotels, like since I was a rookie, I would have to pass out like the practice clothes and the gear and everything. His room would be like under somebody else's name. So like we wouldn't even know which room he was in.
Okay.
So he was pretty private. You know, outside of a couple people, I don't know many people that really like kicked it with him.
But the thing which connects you guys is, scoring ability. And I liked the quote I read in one article. It was 2011, and you were actually working out for the Detroit Pistons, and you told that I'm going to score wherever I am, whatever level I'm on, because that's my game. And
Right.
that's the complete true. Every team you went to, you were scoring a high, and now you're scoring in Ritas. And I talked with the guys, and they say that it's so hard to defend you, and they say that you somehow always manage to create space to make your signature shot. And I watched some highlights of your game in Charleston. I see Rita's highlights. I see the same moves. And who was your teacher of this signature move? And what's the story behind these signature moves you have?
Yeah, man, it was just stuff that came through trial and error. I mean, I've been playing basketball for so long. I kind of knew who I was gonna be even when I was younger. I wasn't trying to dunk on people. I wasn't really like a guy that was, coming trying to use a whole bunch of handles and cross people. But I knew how to get to angles. I knew how to create space. I was always really good at shooting the ball. And I knew, in order for me to be able to shoot the ball, I need to create some space. So originally in high school, I would just shoot from really far back. Like nobody's gonna guard you at a certain point. They don't think you're gonna shoot it. And I was shooting those threes, and I mean, I was making a good majority of them. And that's kind of how it started for me. I was like, okay, and I was doing the same floaters that I still do now. I was doing the same things, and I was like, guys can't really block these shots. These are shots that if I'm making, I'm just making them because you can't block the shots. And if I get separation and it's a good jump shot, I mean, a lot of times it's going to go in. So once I got to college, I just kind of expanded on it. My handles got a little bit better. I got a little bit quicker, a little bit smarter. So I just kept adding to my game. I watched a lot of Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, um, Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker. I watched a lot of those guys. And I watched those guys even when I was growing up. Eric Gordon, Ray Allen, Allen Iverson. So I would watch so much film of those guys. I would just go to practice and mimic the things that I knew would help me get off a clean shot. And they would work. They would work just like I was watching them on TV. The guys would react the same way defensively. And I just kind of progressed on that. The things that felt most comfortable to me were the things I just kind of stuck in my pocket. And I still add things throughout the season. I mean, I watch film every day of different guys and how they get easy shots off. And I just add it to my game.
Did you have any teachers, or as you said, you were mimicking all these moves personally, just by yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it was just me pretty much mimicking, people that I saw. Obviously, I watched Kobe, Michael Jordan, all these guys that came before me. And, but at that time, nobody was shooting deep threes like I was shooting deep threes. Like Jimmer Fredette was the first person I saw doing that, like the same way that I was doing it. And it wasn't even in the NBA yet. Steph Curry had just come out of college. He was actually in the same conference as me, so we played against each other a lot in college. But then once, he got to the NBA and things started to change, the game started to change with the deep shots and things like that. But that was my main source of scoring right there, just really deep threes and floaters. And any way I could get off my shot in the mid-range, step backs, pullbacks, things like that.
Do you remember these, games and situations when your side back moves or like your floaters were starting, to actually work to win, to help to win some games?
Yeah. Well, my first time that I really realized that the floater was a good shot for me was in high school. I was playing it was like the rival school. One of my best friends, he actually plays for Tofus, was on that team. And he's a shot blocker. And I saw him, blocking so many guys' shots throughout the year. And so I just kind of started trying this shot, just floating it up there before he could get to me, because I was like, I'm not going to dunk on this guy. He's probably going to block it off the backboard if I try to lay it up. So I just started throwing it really high in the air. And I heard people in the crowd like, oh man, whoa, like what? And he's swiping so hard, he can't get it. And I'm like, if he can't block it, nobody's going to be able to get this ball. And that was kind of how I started with the floaters. With the deep ball, it was in college more. My Coach Bobby Crimmins, he was just kind of encouraging me to shoot those. He was like, listen, in order for us to win big games, we're going to need you to score big points. And I think that you can do this. And so he would take me out of class sometimes, and we would just go to the gym, and he'd be like, all right, shoot the threes from, a couple steps inside half court, make 10 in a row. And then, that's kind of how that started. So I don't even know, man. It's just been a lot of different experiences that has just helped me add to my game.
I want to bring you back to your first NBA preseason experience. I guess it was a game against LA Clippers. You took some bad shots, then you kind of relaxed, made 3 threes in a row. The next day, Kobe is, approaching you and is telling you to go to see Lakers general manager. It was Mitch Kupchak by the time, which in NBA usually means that probably you're cut or something wrong is going on.
Right.
It was a joke back then, but what I want to say that you had some good flashes in your rookie season, but then you were sent to the G League, for example, for the next season. Right. Later, you're about to sign in Puerto Rico, but kind of out of nowhere, 3 or 2 LA guards, point guards are injured, and you're jumping in the team for the playoffs, and you're scoring for 20 points against San Antonio, 14 points. But again, you're not getting the guaranteed, roster spot on the LA Lakers. Right. And it was kind of, very unclear situation, very unclear role in the NBA. So can you recall that first years in the NBA when you're kind of uncertain, when you're in between of G League, not regular NBA playing time, overseas options, what it's like to be, that kind of NBA player where you saw your potential, by having high scoring games in NBA playoffs, but not getting guaranteed spots for the team in the next season?
Yeah, it was frustrating for me. I had to make the team my rookie year. I didn't know anything about NBA contracts or contracts, period. I just came out of college like, hey, I want to be in the NBA, point blank, period, and that's it. So I didn't know I had to basically try out for the team my first year. Luckily, I made it because I had some good performances in the preseason, like you said. But at the end of the year, you know, people start telling me, I'm seeing in the papers that they're like, yeah, this guy's only got a 1-year deal and he's probably not going to be back next year. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like, what's going on here? So that summer, you know, the coach Mike Brown called me and he told me, like, you know, we just picked up Steve Nash and Dwight Howard and all these other guys, and we only have one roster spot left, and you're on a non-guaranteed deal, so you're gonna have to make the team again. And I'm like, what? Like, what? You know, what's going on? And I go back. Dwight Howard gets hurt in preseason, and Robert Sacre steps in for him. He was a rookie at the time, and I mean, he played literally the whole preseason. They ended up signing him. I got cut and had to go to the D League, which was super frustrating for me. I spent the whole year in the D League, frustrated, depressed, just angry. I mean, I was playing probably the most angry basketball I played throughout my career because I felt like, you know, I played a good season at my rookie season, and I didn't really even have an opportunity to come back. And you know, I had offers to come to Puerto Rico, had other offers to come to Europe. And I was just like, no, you know what? I'm going to stay in the D League. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I was the number 2 pick. I was on the best team. So I was like, okay, you know, any moment, you know, I should get a call up here. And my teammates would get called up to the NBA teams and all these different guys. And I think I was one of the last ones to get called back up. I think there maybe have been 3 guys after me. So I got called back up to the Lakers again, and I played maybe 2 regular season games, and the playoffs started, and then all of a sudden, all of the point guards get hurt, and they're like, "Yeah, Goudelocko, you're gonna start tomorrow," and I'm like, "What? Like I'm gonna start? I just got back on the team. Like y'all want me to start?" And they're like, "Yep, starting tomorrow. It's a good opportunity. Do your thing." And you know, luckily I played well. I thought that I played well enough to garner some attention from some, if not the Lakers again, then some other team. But after the season, you know, Mitch Kupchak was like, "Hey, I understand that you're better than most of the guys on this team, but you know, it's politics. This is how the game works." So he was like, "You know, good luck. We want you to come to our D League team and all of this." And I was like, I'll pass. And that's when I just decided, hey, I'm gonna go to Europe. I'm gonna go and try to make some money for my family. And you know, that's where my first European experience came in.
You mentioned playing most angriest game in your career, probably. How it looks like? What does it mean?
Man, I was getting kicked out of games, like throwing chairs on the floor, like throwing the basketball into the stands, like really yelling at the referees. I mean, I was just bitter. I was just mean. I was just angry. I mean, you know, it was just a difficult time for me because I was, you know, my whole life, my dream was to make it to the NBA. Then I made it. And just as fast as I made it, I got cut. And I was like embarrassed. And I was like, you know, just like, yo, I should be here in the NBA. Like, I know I'm better than these guys. And so I just was all the time mad. But once, you know, I'd probably say 3/4 of the year went by and I kind of calmed down and I kind of came into a role of like just myself of like I started figuring myself out, like who I was as a ball player and you know how to play. And I started putting up like crazy numbers. I mean, I think our team won like 23 games in a row. I mean, we had the best team. It was just it just got better for me. But at the beginning, yeah, it was definitely frustrating.
What would you suggest for the players like you, or bringing numbers in the NBA?
Mhm.
They're proving that they can play, but they're not getting a chance.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to keep your head up and know that it's a business. You know, like one thing that Mitch Kupchak told me that I'll never forget is, you know, don't look around and try to understand why this is happening to you. Don't look around and say, hey, I know that I'm better than the starter and the backup. but I'm not playing. Why am I not playing? He was like, it's just business. People are in the right places at the right times. Different people get different opportunities, and you can't really look at this guy's path and try to judge it and try to judge your path by what he went through. And for me, that was a big quote. At the time, I didn't understand it. At the time, I was like, so you're telling me I'm better than these guys, you're gonna cut me. But the more that I got to think about it, I mean, he's right. I mean, I've been through this business now for 10 years, and I've seen all types of crazy stuff. I've seen players that probably should be playing. I've seen players that have gotten cut that shouldn't be getting cut. I've seen all types of things that players don't even have control over. So if I'm giving advice to a guy that was in my situation, I'll just tell them to don't, like I had to tell myself, don't worry about any of the outside noise or things that you can't control. Only deal with things that you can control and try to do those things to the best of your ability, and everything will work itself out. I mean, you can't really predict how your life is going to go or anybody else's life. It just happens, and whatever is for you is going to happen. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. So just do what you can control, do it to the best of your abilities, and everything will fall in place.
You made the NBA comeback in 2016. You joined forces with Houston Rockets and James Harden, and you kind of had an opportunity to learn from two amazing scorers, but at the same time, who were coming from two very different generations, like Kobe and James Harden. So, what do you think? What were the biggest similarities and differences between these two scoring machines?
The similarities was in the confidence. First of all, I mean, it was off the charts for both of these guys. I mean, whenever they shot the ball, everybody in the gym thought it was going in. So of course they did. With James Harden, there was a lot of one-on-one, a lot of dribbles, kind of street basketball. You get out there, give them the ball, and be ready to shoot. That's literally what they told me. If he passes you the ball, be ready to shoot it, because not gonna be much time on the clock. He's probably gonna dribble it most of the time. Just be ready to shoot. With Kobe Bryant, it's kind of the same situation, but he didn't take as many dribbles, and I mean, his game was just it's much more footwork. It's just calculated. I mean, when you see Kobe play, it was just, I don't know, it's like a thing of art. Another difference I would say is in preparation. James, as everybody knows, doesn't have the best preparation habits. As far as what he does off the court, Kobe was always really focused and always really about his business, especially when we saw him. There wasn't a whole bunch of going out or partying or any of that kind of stuff. It was all business. But their approach to the game was pretty similar. I mean, they were both killers. I mean, if you were not ready to play defense or you weren't ready to play, like they would score 40 on you, and it would be easy because they're gonna have the ball every time.
You made your name in Europe, and your first European basketball experience was in Kazan. And with Kazan, I heard some funny stories, and I have one short one, which describes a lot what kind of cultural shock it might be for some players. For example, I was told that years ago, they weren't using the ice, for example, the ice you put on the ankles, on the knees, after the game for the recovery. And when some players asked ice, or they asked personal to get some ice, they told something like, just go outside, take the snow, and you're going to make the ice. And they were not investing in it because, you can find the snow outside the gym. And I don't know if you can say if that's true, because I've heard that, they're improving as an organization, and, they're getting the environment better for the players. But what do you remember from that cultural shock you got in Kazan?
Yeah, the ice thing for me, I didn't have that experience because at that time I was super young. I didn't even use ice, but but there was a lot of things that was different. I mean, coming from LA and going to Kazan was like, I didn't know what was going on. I mean, obviously the language barrier, nobody's speaking English, but everything was just different for me. The driving, I'm like, man, these people are driving crazy out here. I'm having to drive in the snow. They had some Russian dogs out there. Like I would go grab my food and the dogs would like come at me and I would just have to give them my food. And it was just completely different. Like I was like, yo, this is like something I never would have thought that I would be doing, or I would never would have thought I'd be here. And even at the games, like, just it's just a whole different vibe. I can't even explain it. Just a whole different vibe. But I think I handled it pretty well. I mean, after a few months, I was like, okay, I kind of understand the routine of everything, and I can make it work.
It didn't back you off, from continuing the journey in Europe?
No, no. I mean, for me, I was having so much fun playing basketball. Like, I mean, I had Trinkieri there, and our team was winning a lot. I actually had Charles Edson, Chuck, that was at Regis, got his jersey
Yeah.
retired. And those guys, Nico Zesis, those guys made it really easy for me to just kind of play basketball and not really worry about anything else. We won, I mean, so much that everything was pretty laid back. I can't really say that I was like thinking about not coming back to Europe or anything like that. I definitely wanted to go back to the NBA, but I was like, hey, this isn't bad. I mean, this is great basketball and I'm having fun playing, and that was all that really mattered to me.
I know that many Ritas fans will listen to this podcast. Can you share some Ch.Eidsonas stories, because he's kind of Kawhi Leonard of
Yeah.
European basketball in
Yeah.
terms of off the court life.
Right. Chuck doesn't even, I don't even know if he has a cell phone, man. Chuck,
Yeah.
back then, like we would try to talk to Chuck about getting on like Facebook and Twitter, and he's like, I don't want to be on that stuff. Like, come on, man. Like, what am I doing? But Chuck was like, I was a rookie in Europe, and he was my vet. And so, I mean, he told me about all of his experiences and everything that he had been through. He's actually from South Carolina too, which is where my wife's from. So we had a lot, kind of in common. And I talked to him and picked his brain about a lot of things. But Chuck was just a really good person, a really good teammate, pretty quiet. But yeah, I was really glad. I'm really glad that I had him as my vet.
And talking about your rookie experience, can you compare your kind of cultural shock and rookie seasons in Europe and in China, having having the experience to play in Xinjiang and Shandong teams?
Yeah, I would say that China was really tough. China actually made me think about, I mean, I was like, after my first year there, I was like, I don't know if I can go back and deal with this. From the food, it was really, really different. Just the way that people kind of stare at you. It was just a big difference for me. I wasn't used to being there and dealing with such a culture shock. I mean, in Russia, it was, different, but I could manage. It wasn't so bad. I mean, it was things to do. I could go places. My teammates were nice, so they would take me places, and they were like, open arms, everything. But in China, you're pretty much isolated. Maybe one other American was on the team, and they wouldn't really let us go anywhere. So we were kind of just sitting around in a hotel or your apartment for the majority of the day. We would practice. That'll be about it. But and then the time difference, it's like 12-hour time difference at home. So you're waking up, people are going to sleep. You're going to sleep, people are waking up. So you really can't talk to anybody. It was just, it was different. It was different for sure. I actually had to send my wife and my first son, at the time only had one. I had to send them home because, I mean, they weren't eating enough. Their attitudes were like changing. I was like, all right, this is probably not the best environment for you guys. Like, and I sent them home and immediately they were like happy. Like, so, I mean, China's definitely different. But at the same time, I learned a lot in China, and I actually ended up going back. So
Yeah, I can actually see what you're talking about, because I worked in FIBA World Cup in 2019. I spent a month in China. Well, I was a week in South Korea, and later 3 weeks in China. It was actually exhausting, probably of that cultural shock, of that language barrier, different eating habits, and just, you can have like regular words like, can you call me a taxi or something, and people just
Right.
don't understand what you're talking about.
Right.
So day to day, it comes now, being, as you said, you feel kind of alone,
Right.
isolated, and it's really exhausting
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, especially like if you have a long day at practice or a game or something and you just come home, you don't have anybody to talk to. You don't have any type of communication. Um, I mean, the internet is regulated there, so you can't get on your regular apps and things like that. Can't watch your regular TV. I mean, unless you brought something from home that allows you to do those things. But it's definitely different. I mean, it's definitely different.
It was different in Fenerbahce Istanbul 2014 and 2015. And
Mhm.
I remember you had a game-winning shot in Maccabi playoff series in a game three. Also later, you led Fenerbahce to their first Final Four. You
Mhm.
scored 26 points in the semifinal against Real Madrid, 24 points against CSKA Moscow in the game for the third place, and then you left. And is there any explanation why such a efficient scorer like you were providing numbers, but you didn't stay for a longer time in Fenerbahce?
Yeah, no, I mean, that was completely Obradovic's decision. Literally after uh maybe like a week after we lost, my agent called me and was like, "Hey, they want to, you know, go with somebody else." And I was like, "Okay." I mean, that's what they. It's nothing I can do about it. But I really think that they wanted Bogdanovic to play more. I mean, be more of the main guy. So like I said in the beginning of the show, some things you can't control, like things like that, and you just kind of take the good with the bad. And I was like shocked at first. I was like, "Are y'all serious? Like what?" I was just dominated, but it's how it goes sometimes.
Can you share your experience about fitting Obradovic's system and his philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough for me at first because I wasn't used to being with a coach that just demanded so much, almost perfection. I mean, he demands perfection, and my basketball IQ probably wasn't the highest at that point, for sure. I mean, I probably wasn't. I know it wasn't. I was just able to score. I had a lot of moves and talent, and so I was just like, "Hey, give me the ball. I'm gonna score." And he taught me a lot about basketball, how to play the game the right way, the right reads, the right shots, and I mean, I learned a whole bunch that season. I ended up, I mean, I think we did pretty well together. Um, but like I said, you never know what's gonna happen.
Maccabi season was in 2016 and 17, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you had five different head coaches in Tel Aviv in one season.
Yes, yes,
What it's like, and what did you take from that year?
man. So that was a long year. I think like every month or two, month and a half, something like that. They were switching coaches. They actually cut a couple players during the season. It was like a whole scandal. There was a lot going on. But that was the first year that I dealt with coaching changes and player changes and stuff like that for the first time throughout my career. Like, I had been traded before, like in the D League and stuff like that. But that was the first time that I had like coaches getting fired and having new coaches and players getting fired and having new guys come in. And that was kind of crazy for me. But through it all, I was playing well. And by the end of the year, I gained a really good relationship with all of those guys there. I didn't really, we had so many coaches that I couldn't really gain great relationships with them. But everybody else, I really gained great relationship with. There was some good guys on that team. I still talk to those guys to this day. And overall, I just took with that experience to just focus on yourself. You can't control what happens outside of you, like the coaches. So I just kind of learned to just tap into what I'm supposed to do, come do my job.
And talking about your relationship with coaches, I know that you are the guy. At least I was told that you are the guy who, if you are having some issues, if you are having some problems, you like to go to speak directly with the coach. To have eye-to-eye conversations, just to make all the things to figure out all the things.
Right.
And what do you think? What were the coaches you liked these conversations the most? They accepted you, in the best manner, let's say, and all these, conversations were so impactful that you enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, Trinkieri was probably the first one that like because my attitude was a lot different back then. My ego, all those things were like times 10 of who I am now. And so, with Trinkieri, my first year, like I would come to him like, yo, what are we doing? Like, give me the ball. And he was just like, he was talking to me and giving me positive criticism, constructive criticism, telling me what he needed me to do, telling me what I needed to do to be successful, especially in Europe. And I mean, that's kind of how I first started to approach things. Like, you go straight to the source. I mean, I've been in the situations where coaches will lie or they'll say one thing and then there's really another thing. And, I don't like the confusion. Like, if something's going on, just tell me. Like, and I have to accept it. I might not like it, but I have to accept it. If you tell me the truth, then we're all good. Like, you know. So that just kind of became my way. Like, I'm gonna go. It doesn't have to be we don't have to argue or like, yell at each other or anything like that. But I think that it's better when everything's out on the table. And I mean, Obradovic taught me that also. Like, he would come to everybody and directly tell them what he expected from them on the court. And he would tell us what he expected you not to do also. So with that, I mean, it was so easy for everybody on the team to do what they needed to do because even if you don't like what he's telling you, you have to accept it. And if you don't want to do it, then you have another problem. You know what I mean? But as long as everybody's up front and everybody knows exactly what's going on, there are no surprises and the team can start to build chemistry. If everybody's kind of here and there and this guy told me that and this coach told me this and the general manager told me that, then your team is discombobulated and you don't really know what's going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, that's part of me now, to just go and there's a problem, you ask.
When you mentioned coaches like Trinkieri and Jelko, and as I said, that they are very demanding, and sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes it seems like they're demanding the game perfection or kind of systematic perfection, even over scoring, over having big numbers and scoring,
Right.
and how tough, how difficult it is for American players coming to Europe. Coming to EuroLeague to understand is that it's not only about points. There are a lot of other things, and I'm not even saying if these coaches are right. How to find that kind of balance in scoring and fulfilling the coach expectations.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing with Trinkieri was, and even the thing with Obradovic was like, he came to me at the beginning of the season. Obradovic did and said, "Hey, there's going to be games where I don't need you to take 15 shots. There's going to be games where I don't need you to score 20 points. There's going to be games where I do need you to shoot over 3 guys and I need you to score 20, 25 points. And it's just going to be that way. But you have to understand when that is. When we're up 15, 20 points, you should be trying to help your team. You should be trying to help your teammates to gain confidence and to get better because when we play in these bigger teams, you guys are going to all need each other." So that was like the biggest thing because for me, it was like, I can score 20 points every night. So why don't I do it? You know what I mean? Like, why don't I just go out here and score 20 points every night and we win the game? But once I got to Europe, I was introduced to a lot more when it came to the basketball game, schemes, tactical things that I hadn't seen in the NBA and in the G League. I mean, basketball in America is predicated more on talent or more on your talent and one-on-one things like that. And so they just kind of roll the ball out and you just go hoop. But when you come over here, it's more than that. There's no 3 seconds here defensively, so guys can just sit in the paint. You can't just play one-on-one and go to the rim and dunk with somebody or something like that. You actually have to know how to play the game. You actually you actually have to know how to read the game. And I mean, that's what they taught me. I started to be able to score without taking 100 dribbles Started to be able to set up my teammates with just short, easy passes, not even using so much energy. The game just came a lot more simpler to me.
Is that kind of approach is right? I mean, doesn't it look like for you that coaches make game in Europe too complicated actually, or it's because there's not so much talent here?
Sometimes, I mean, I wouldn't say it's not too much talent. I would just say that the way that the European game is and the way that guys are brought up from kids is just different from the way that we're learning as kids in America. I mean, the whole system growing up through college is get buckets, use your talent, dunk on people, crossovers, flashy stuff. You know what I mean? And then in Europe, they're growing up on a whole different type of level. Like their level is we're setting back screens, we're gonna do this, we set pick and rolls, Spanish pick and rolls, the right passes, skipping the ball, going baseline, things like that. So, you know, I wouldn't say that it's less talent, it's just different ways of playing the game. And I think that a healthy medium is like perfect. I mean, you obviously need your talent and you should use your talent, in my opinion. You obviously need and you should use that talent because you have it. But there should be, you should know like time and space. You should know how to play the game beyond just using your talent. You should know how to help your team. You should know how to set guys up. You should just know how to play the team game. I mean, basketball is a beautiful game when everybody's touching the ball. That creates the greatest chemistry. Like everybody's on the same page. Nobody's jealous of anybody. Nobody's looking at anybody sideways because you know that everybody's being selfless in the way that they play the game.
And the last team in EuroLeague you played for was Milano. And before making all the case, I liked your idea when you said, as Kobe taught you, to be arrogant on the court, to look arrogant, not to be arrogant. But at the same time, sometimes people can misunderstand you. You know, they might think that you are actually arrogant. And where I'm pointing this question to, what do you think? What kind of bad labels do you have in Europe? What kind of misunderstandings in your eyes? What you're hearing about yourself through your, I don't know, agencies, through your camp or something?
Man, people have been saying that I was like the worst teammate and that I was like an a-hole and that I was like, demanding for the ball all the time and like all this crazy stuff, man. Like, and me, like, I haven't been on a team where like my teammates hated me or like they were like, this guy's a bad guy. Like, I've never been called that. So like when I go to teams and agents tell me like, hey, we heard that, you're going to be difficult to work with. And we heard that all you do is demand the ball and you do this and you yell at your teammates. And I'm like, well, me and my wife had this talk all the time because she even asked me like, where's this coming from? Like, and I'm like, I have no clue. And every year it's the same thing. I get with the team and they're like, man, we thought you were going to be like the opposite of what you are. Like, we thought you're going to be a terrible teammate. We thought you were going to be like hard to deal with. But actually, you're really cool and you help us out. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know where this came from, but it's followed me for whatever reason. I don't know. Like a couple years ago, I stopped caring about it. I was like, man, whatever. I mean, I can't worry about what everybody says about me, but it's definitely not true. So
yeah, because what I actually wanted to say that I talked with you guys, with a bunch of players who played for different teams with you, and I'm gonna quote them what they said about you. And for example, uh, as you said, they said that you were presented much worse than you actually are, both on and off the court. A great guy and a great teammate. You're simple, positive guy without showing any kind of bad body language. If you face a problem, you try to solve it directly. Respect people around you. You're involved in teams, day-to-day life. They didn't see any tough character appearances like everybody thought you have. Very supportive, always trying to stay positive and knows how to cheer for the teammates, helping young guys. and etc. And I'm sure they were 100% sincere with these words, because with their words, because these were off the record conversations, and I know these guys, I trust them. And what I actually wanted to say, as you already mentioned, did you recognize when it all started, and if you had any difficulties in getting a job, getting into some teams because of all that rumors?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know when it happened. I really don't even know. I can't even tell you. Teams just started to say that, like, oh, but they would sign me still. Like, I would still go to the team, but they would be like, they're afraid of you being this kind of person, and I'll be like, well, that's not me. So, whatever. But this past season, after I got injured, then it was like an issue, because people were like, hey, well, we heard that he's this kind of guy. He's coming back from an injury. We don't really know. And I was like, yeah, I mean, this stuff's not true. But I don't really know what I'm supposed to do to. I'm supposed to hold out a sign that says I'm not a bad guy. I don't really know. Like, so I was just like, wherever I go, I'm just gonna continue to be me. Continue to do the things I've always done. And hopefully people just get to see the real me. But I really don't know where it could have come from. I know in my past I haven't always been like the greatest guy. I would get frustrated, and I would say stuff to people, but I was never like a bad teammate. Um, I would never come at my teammates wrong or anything like that. So I don't know.
But actually, once you called yourself uncoachable, but it was in Charleston or
Yeah.
before Charleston times. What was wrong with you yourself? Because I was actually surprised that you, if correct me if I'm right, but you had only two Division 1 offers.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I was just a knucklehead in high school. My grades were not very good. Um, I mean, like I said, I wasn't super athletic guy. I wasn't super tall. So I mean, nobody was really recruiting me. And summer ball for AAU, I didn't play. I didn't get any playing time. So I literally had, I mean, I didn't have anything. I had Charleston, and I had one other school that was not even Division 1 at the time. Um, so it was just like, basically I had one choice, and it happened to be a good choice for me. When I went, I was still, I mean, my high school was a pretty rough school, and I was just used to, I was used to that. I was used to living around and being around certain people. And when I got to college, I still had that same attitude. Um, Probably for the first year and a half, I was just like always getting into stuff, not really going to class, not really want to listen to anybody. But then that stuff changed. I mean, the older and more mature I got, um, you know, I gained a great relationship with all the coaches. And I mean, I just talked to my coach, my assistant coach last night, actually. And, it all ended very well, but it started out rough for sure.
You already mentioned your difficult knee injury you had in China, and
Mhm.
you spent almost 2 years without, getting meaningful playing time because of the COVID, also because
Mhm.
the season was shortened, and also because of the injury. And you, in one of the interviews, you mentioned that you even thought that, the pain was so huge and the situation looked so bad that you thought it was a career-ending injury.
Yeah.
And by that time, when you think about it, were you thinking about your plan B, about the scenarios? Where do you see yourself in your post-retirement life?
Yeah. I was actually, I had started thinking about coaching, um, player development, things like that. So I was just like, because I was just so down about everything. I mean, I came back, and then I just kept getting hurt again. Like the knee just wasn't, I mean, it just wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. So then once I finally came back, COVID hit. So it was just like bad timing. I was just like, man, is this even going to work for me anymore? Like, should I just call it quits and start doing something else? But I mean, luckily, man, I went back home. Once COVID hit, I went back home. I really focused on getting my body right and focused on just getting my game right. And I got another opportunity this year, but I definitely was thinking about my plan Bs, and it actually helped me to to start opening my mind up to those things, so that when I am done playing, I actually know what I want to do.
So by coming to Vilnius, you just wanted to show everybody, to prove everybody that you can still play?
Yeah, I mean, I love the game. So I just wanted to play again, for myself. First of all, I was just like, dealing with such a crazy knee injury. I mean, my kneecap was basically in my thigh. And to deal with such a crazy knee injury and a recovery, and I just wanted to prove to myself, like, I could still do this. Like, I could still play at a high level. I'm still me. And it took me a little time, but I finally feel like that. I mean, I finally feel like myself again. And I mean, I'm just glad that Ritas gave me even the opportunity, because even this summer I only had 1 or 2 offers. So it wasn't like people were, trying to see me or trying to have me on their team. Um, and I was able to come here and, start to feel like myself again.
Yeah, Ritas was your 13th team in your career. And in what ways this team, this city, this season standed out the most?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just because I'm coming off of this huge milestone, well, not milestone, but huge injury where, it's just been a crazy comeback. But the COVID thing has just been crazy because everything's been locked down. But in the beginning, when everything was open, I mean, it seemed like, a great place. I mean, so much to do. The people were all nice. I mean, I loved it here. I mean, I still love it here, but it was just a lot to do, and I really liked it. It actually reminded me of a lot of the other bigger cities that I've been to in Europe, and I had a good time here for sure. The fans, when they were allowed at the games, were all really good. I know that Ritas has a great fan base, so it was one of the things I was looking forward to when I came here, and they definitely didn't disappoint when they were able to come to the games.
I think that you never played in one team for more than one season. And what this organization, what Ritas needs to be like in order, to continue with you for the next season, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I like all the guys that we have on the team. Um, for me, it's not even really up to me to what happens. I mean, this contractual stuff that my agent and the management deal with. Uh, but for me, man, I've always just kind of predicated myself on, does the team really want me? Like, do I feel welcome there? Do I feel like they treated me right? And I kind of go from there. I don't want to have to be somewhere and have my family for a whole year if we're not, all comfortable, and if we don't feel like we're wanted there. So it's really the biggest thing for me, just to feel like, I'm being used the right way, to feel like, I'm really wanted here or wherever. And no, that's about it. I mean, obviously winning is a big thing for anybody, but I think that if a team is having good chemistry and working well together, I think that stuff comes. So, uh, you know, just I'm not a complex guy. So if I'm feeling like I'm being treated right, I'll stay around for sure.
Do you feel wanted and used enough here in Ritas in order to consider at least to settle down here?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I definitely think that the team made it clear to me that they didn't want me to go anywhere, especially for the rest of this season. And with all the changes that we've had this year, I think that that's a big statement from these guys. Um, you know, it's been a tough, difficult year for the team with everything that we've had going on. We started out so well. Then we had a rough patch there, and then with the coaching things and everything else, it's been a little crazy. Um, but I feel like things are definitely taking a turn for the better, and we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens.
Starting from your childhood to the point of your life right now, it was a hell of a journey, and in my eyes, it's a very good material for a great book of Andrew Goudelock's life. I don't know if you ever considered this idea, but if you would need, to write a book, autobiography, for example, what would be the title of your book?
Man, that's a great question. the unexpected ride or something like that, because I couldn't. When I think about everything that I've like been through and like, you know, just all the things that led me to going to different places and meeting different people and different experiences. I mean, it's just, I couldn't have scripted any of this. I didn't expect any of it. It's just been a wild ride. I mean, that's just pretty much all I can say. Even from this year, coming back from the crazy injury and everything that's been happening this year, and you know, now we're winning 11 games in a row. I mean, you never know what's gonna happen. So that'd probably be a good title, the unexpected ride or the wild ride or something like that.
But there's an unfinished chapter for that book. So what
sure?
basketball dreams you're still chasing? What you're expecting from upcoming years? Are you going to play till 40s or something?
I don't know, man. You know, before I got injured, it was crazy because I was like, yeah, I'm only going to play there. I'm like, 32, 33. Then I got injured. And then everything changed for me. I mean, the lifestyle that I was living, it's me, basketball, period. And the whole time I was hurt, I was just thinking, like, if I can come back from this, I'm going to play until I just can't play anymore. Like, until it's not going to happen, until nobody wants me. And, I mean, that's kind of how I took it, man. You know, I love the game the same way I loved it when I first started playing when I was 6 or 7 years old. And, yeah, I mean, I definitely have personal goals for myself that I want to achieve before I retire. But at this point, I'm just happy to play the game. So, for me, all that stuff is kind of in the back burner. I'm just happy to play the game at a high level and be able to feel like myself again.
Can you share what kind of personal goals you have?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to win more championships. I want to win more three-point contests. I want to play at, EuroLeague again if I get that opportunity. I just want the best for me, for what I feel like I can do. I mean, I still feel like I'm capable of scoring 20 points whenever I want to. I still feel like I'm capable of doing a lot of things. So, I got a little left in the tank.
Okay, Drew. So I wish you to achieve all these milestones you're chasing. And I'm hearing your kids already, making it out, outside the room. So I'm giving you a way to take care of them. Thanks a lot for this conversation. I think I'm very glad that we had the opportunity, to dig in your journey, because it had so many ups and downs, so many interesting experiences, and I think that it can, help somebody else who are looking after, and I believe that it was very interesting.
I thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I'm sorry it took us a little while with the scheduling, but definitely glad that I was able to join.
No, it was okay. It was worth it. So thanks a lot, Drew, and thanks a lot for everybody who were listening to it.
Thank you.
Prieš bonusą ir po bonuso